In Brazil, 2 days before the presidential elections, Bolsonaro's followers insist on trying to create the electoral process. The government of Canada evaluates possible intervention in Haiti despite rejection by the population and the United Nations Security Council. In Bolivia, labor and social movements called for mobilizations in defense of the government of President Luis Arce. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Brazil, 2 days before the presidential elections, Bolsonaro's followers insist on trying to decrease the electoral process in the face of an eventual victory of candidate Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva. According to polls presented by the Altafolla Institute, the candidate Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva has a 6-point lead over Jair Bolsonaro. In this context, Bolsonaro's followers threaten not to recognize the electoral results. Meanwhile, they denounced an alleged boycott to the electoral propaganda of the rural candidate Jair Bolsonaro in radius of the Northeast, where the Workers' Party was a wide advantage. In Brazil, on Friday marked a closing date for any campaign activities ahead of presidential runoff elections next Sunday, October the 30th. The Cyprus Electoral Tribunal announces that on Friday will be the last day of free electoral propaganda in radio and television, but as of 8 p.m. local time, potential political broadcasting rallies, the use of sound equipment, any campaign event, distribution of print material, and marches will be prohibited. The authority said anyone who violates the measure will be sentenced to 6 months to 1 year in prison, and they might also be fined up at $3,000. British parliamentarian Jeremy Corbyn is in Brazil this week visiting with leftist politicians, all social movement leaders. After the meeting with the MST leadership this morning, he spoke to teleSUR about his visit.
Here in Brazil to observe the elections, and as a long-term friend of the PT, of Lula, and of the movement of landless peoples, we've had a fascinating introduction to the election process. And we've had a description this morning about the achievements of the movement of landless peoples and their hopes for land redistribution, for sustainable and fairer agriculture in the future. Brazil is probably the most economically divided country in Latin America, if not the world, and a Lula government will begin to change all of that.
And after a visit with MST leadership today in Sao Paulo, British parliamentarian spoke to teleSUR about what a victory by Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva in Sunday's presidential elections will mean for the people of Latin America and the world.
We need Lula to win on Sunday in order that the left around the world can realise that it is possible to defeat the power of big business and big media that have done so much to vilify Lula, Dilma, Evo and so many other people over the past few years. And in that victory, all of us, all over the world, who are fighting for peace and justice and solidarity will be stronger.
After they met with the leaders of Brazil's landless rural workers movement, or MST, the British parliamentarian Jeremy Corbyn spoke about Great Britain's theft of Venezuela's gold reserves.
The gold is wrongly held by Britain. It should be returned. There are legal processes going on in Britain to try to ensure that gold is returned, and a number of us in Parliament will continue supporting the need for the return of that gold.
This Friday in Ecuador, police arrested House of Energy Minister Xavier Vera, who is under investigation by the public prosecutors for allegedly collecting money in exchange for political posts. The prosecutors carried out 2 raids, one in Quito and one in Guayaquil, as part of the investigation for alleged bribery involving Xavier Vera. According to local media, the accusers have made public a recording in which former Petroecuador executive Italo Cedeño is heard saying the Minister of Energy has offered public posts in exchange for money. In this regard, Xavier Vera said that the accusations against him are false and unfounded, and that it has been orchestrated by mafias committed by his office. The government of Canada evaluates possible intervention in Haiti despite rejection by the people and the United Nations Security Council. According to local media, Premier Justin Trudeau will analyze with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken the presumed intervention in Haiti in response to the request of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The head of the organization indicated the objective of the intervention is to stabilize the socio-political situation in the Caribbean country. For their part, the Asian population and the UN Security Council continues to reject the possible foreign intervention while demanding that the sovereignty of the nation be respected. In Haiti, the new cholera outbreak has reached 8 of 10 departments, affecting mostly children. At least 52 Haitians have died from the latest cholera outbreak in less than a month since the first case was reported. The Haitian Health Ministry said that 243 people are suspected of having been infected, and among them half are children. The authorities said that the people with symptoms such as diarrhea and vomiting should go to a healthcare facility. However, many hospitals are closed due to the fuel and medicine shortages. The previous outbreak, which occurred in 2010, claimed close to 10,000 lives. And we'll take a short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, which will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. In Bolivia, labor and social movements called for mobilizations in defense of the government of President Luis Arce against the destabilization attempts to the right wing of Cruceña. According to the chronogram of the Bolivian Central Labor Union, the mobilizations will take place in a stage in each departmental capital starting on Friday, November the 4th. In this sense, the social organizations approved a resolution in which they ratified the unity of the social organizations, the support of the national government led by President Luis Arce, and the defense of the continuity of the process of change and the cultural democratic revolution in Bolivia.
To strengthen our process of change and a government democratically elected by the majority will of the Bolivian people, headed by Brother Luis Arce and Sister David Chacohuanca, we call for large departmental mobilizations and rallies to strengthen and defend democracy and a process of change to be held in each departmental capital.
Russia has announced before the United Nations Security Council that Ukraine could build a dirty bomb, all of this behind the International Atomic Energy Agency. Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Vasily Nebensia, said that the West cannot ignore the threat posed by such a scenario, designed to eventually accuse Russia of nuclear terrorism. Nebensia said Moscow issued warnings about its possibility a week ago based on information from reliable sources. The Russian diplomat said that in a closed-door meeting with International Atomic Energy Agency General Director Rafael Grossi, he provided evidence that there are real threats of the attack to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which has already been hit by Ukrainian shells. On Friday, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Wang Wenbin expressed China's willingness for a peaceful solution to Ukraine and Russia's conflict.
Yesterday, members of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China, of the Central Committee on China's State Councilor, and Foreign Minister Wang Yi exchanged ideas on the Ukraine crisis with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in a phone conversation. Lavrov said Russia is willing to resume negotiations with Ukraine and the United States. China welcomes that and hopes relevant parties will make more diplomatic efforts to promote the de-escalation and even settlement of the situation through political negotiations as soon as possible. The two sides also discussed the prohibition of the use of weapons of mass destruction. China believes further escalation of the situation should be avoided so as to prevent a humanitarian disaster.
Thousands of people gathered in Central Prague on Friday to protest against the center-right government of Petr Fiala. The protesters pointed Fiala for the rise in inflation, which now stands at 18%, and accused him of paying too much attention to the current crisis in Ukraine, to which the Czech Republic has provided significant military and humanitarian aid. The demonstration was called by the Czech Republic First Movement. Across Europe, rising inflation spurred a wave of protests and strikes that highlight a growing discontent on the escalating cost of living and threatens to unleash political instability.
I don't like the fact that the government sends weapons to Ukraine and thus is running into debt. I don't want them to help us, but they don't even let us breathe freely and do business and work. They should stop bothering about a spat between big countries. Let them do what they want. I want us to be independent, to start taking care of ourselves or our country, to stop sending guns to Ukraine because I think it's no good. They steal everything in Ukraine anyway.
The Italian government launched its migration containment plans after the Ministry of Interior endorsed a ban in the entry into its territorial waters of migrant rescue boats. The Ministry of the Interior issued a directive defending the conduct of non-governmental organizations rescuing migrants from Africa as unlawful because, according to the ministry, they do not inform the Italian authorities about the rescue operations. But for their part, the ship Ocean Viking and SOS Humanity points out that they carried out operations in the area of Sarda, Libya, and Malta without receiving information from the state authorities. They further state that as a search and rescue organization, they will continue to work under the international law of the sea for the rescue of persons in danger. On Friday, Cyprus riot police used tear gas to kill violence at a migrant reception center after clashes between different ethnic groups caused a fire to break out. The violence episode broke out in the Purnakama, the main reception center from asylum seekers in Cyprus. According to the Interior Ministry, the camp was originally built to accommodate 1,000 migrants, now houses over 2,500 people. Besides of that, the Cypriot Children's Rights Commissioner reports that the facilities are in poor conditions and food rations go shorter. So Cyprus is one of the main destinations for migrants, mostly coming from Syria or Lebanon and sub-Saharan Africa, who arrive on the Mediterranean island with the hope of entering European territory. We have more news coming up after this financial break, so don't go away. Welcome back. The Palestinian government warned that Israeli occupation forces are escalating the situation through guerrilla assassinations against the Palestinian people. In a statement, the Palestinian presidency reported that 2 civil defense officers were killed near Deir, who were a military checkpoint. Meanwhile, presidential spokesman Nabil Abu Rudashi held the Israeli government responsible for crimes, while underlining the assassination is part of a series of crimes accompanying against the Palestinian people. He also stressed that the international community, particularly the United States administration, must intervene quickly and put pressure on Israel to stop this dangerous escalation against Palestinians. In the meantime, the United Nations Office for Human Rights expressed its concern over the increasing violence in Palestine. In a report, the international organization showed their concern over the most recent violence in Palestine and about a possible resumption of lawful triggered target killings by the Israeli security forces. During operations on Tuesday, October 25th, Israeli security forces shot dead 3 men in the old city of Nablus. And at least 118 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli security forces in Palestine in 2022, including 26 children and 5 women. Iraqis in Baghdad voiced reactions and expectations on Friday to the elections of Mohammed Shayad al-Surani as the country's new prime minister.
I want the Iraqi government to fight against thieves and the corrupt. I also want them to rebuild Baghdad in all aspects through service, construction and reconstruction of the infrastructure. I also want them to appoint and create jobs for the army of the unemployed because we currently have law school graduates who are working as porters. I hope and aspire that service will be available and to withdraw uncontrolled weapons and be confined to the state. Establish new projects, evaluate the health systems, and improve it. At that time, we are optimistic and we hope that the government's endeavor will be good. God willing.
On Friday, the Uruguayan president, Luis Lacalle Pou, said to be confident about Japan and Uruguay making progress on trade issues. Lacalle Pou made a statement after meeting with the Chinese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo as part of the agenda of his official visit to Japan. According to the joint statement issued following the meeting, both presidents have agreed to set up a binational constitutional committee to improve economic relations through existing tools such as bilateral customs assistance agreements and the agreement to avoid double taxation. The two sides pledged to collaborate in the implementation of new digital technologies and also to establish a bilateral system for granting visas for holidays and sporadic work activities. On Friday, October 28th, the Cuban people commemorate 63 years since the disappearance of Rebel Army Chief of Staff General Camilo Cienfuegos. Camilo Cienfuegos is remembered as one of the most outstanding and revolutionary fighters who, together with other young people, raised his voice against the tyranny of Fulgencio Batista. Cienfuegos took part in demonstrations against the Batista dictatorship, from which he was tortured and had to go into exile in 1955. In Mexico, he met Fidel Castro, Ernesto Che Guevara, and other revolutionaries who were preparing to return to Cuba to liberate it, which happened on January 1st, 1959. Camilo Cienfuegos' airplane went missing on October 28th, 1959, and his remains never were found. And with that story, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Mara Marrero, and thank you for watching.